It's a quiet Saturday morning at the corner of Elmont Drive and Pleasant Valley Road in the Riverside area of Austin, Texas. A large white tent has been set up across the street from the ballpark apartments, now known as the Quad, one of the last remaining examples of working class and student housing in the city. Inside the tent, an art exhibition is in progress. The show is hosted by Almost Real Things, a nonprofit that has been collaborating with the Presidium group, the developers currently trying to flip the Quad, Ballpark North, and the Town Lake Apartments into an upscale mixed-use project. The tranquil atmosphere of the art show is suddenly broken when someone starts throwing pamphlets in the air. Many of the art show attendees reveal themselves to be protesters as they exit the tent chanting,
"We don't need no arts district!
We need our apartments fixed!"
The protest continues on the sidewalk until one man, Larry Sunderland, comes out of the tent and starts walking to the nearby grocery store. Sunderland has been known to collaborate with gentrifiers and police through his Friends of Riverside Association. Out of nowhere, Sunderland grabs one of the protesters' megaphones and attempts to punch them. A fight breaks out. How did something as harmless as an art show turn into a violent altercation? Why were people protesting to begin with? All this and more coming up on Riverside Rising. I'm Kelly Blancas.
Fuck you!
Defend Our Hoods led this protest as part of the bigger boycott of the Riverside Arts District, a collaboration between Presidium and the Austin Creative Alliance to further gentrify the Riverside area through a tactic known as artwashing. The developers offered discounted rents and other incentives to artists, businesses, and nonprofits who in return revitalized the area by creating artistic spaces that appeal to the luxury renters Presidium wants to attract. Revitalize and clean up, it's their term for we're getting rid of you. We've got people in here to begin taking things over and revitalizing and cleaning up your area, but in actuality, this area is not for you anymore.
Hey! Oh, these gentrifiers have got to go! Hey! Oh, these gentrifiers have got to go!
The morning protest that had come to blows was followed by another picket that evening, where protesters informed people walking into the art show of the development interests behind the event. People who turned away received applause from the crowd, but those who crossed the picket line were treated like scabs. If you have ever crossed the picket line, if you have ever sold out to millionaire developers, then you are in fact a scab. If you need ointment for that scab, we have that. You can come join Defend Our Hoods and we will provide that ointment for you.
So I hope you fucking hipsters are having a terrible fucking night. So, I live across the fucking street from this stupid ass shit they're trying to make. That's gonna raise my rent. You fucking ass hipsters are trying to hide from the reality of what you're doing to this neighborhood. You're trying to hide behind a facade of woke art. What you're really fucking doing is you're destroying our communities. So you want to sugar skulls, you want to love our horchata. Well, that's the fuck what? That's our shit. That's our neighborhood shit. That's our community shit. And you can't just kick us out of our community and claim that you have that shit too. Okay?
But it's all for a reason, believe me. Yeah, you gotta read between the lines. Everything's got a deeper meaning. I wish everybody chased their dreams. Trust me, sometimes you gotta do some shit you don't want just to get what you need. I wish it didn't have to be that way. Keep telling myself to keep going. Look at the clock like it's 11:11. Close my eyes and I make up. Yeah, then I act towards it. One life, one chance is all we get. So I'm in the midst.
Defend Our Hoods has been struggling against Presidium and the other developers who want to gentrify the Riverside area before the Riverside Arts District was conceived. A rezoning application for the Quad, Ballpark North, and Town Lake Apartments had been submitted with the city, a request by the developers for permission to construct a taller, bigger and more luxurious project, comparable to the Domain in North Austin. After undergoing review by the city staff, the rezoning application ended up in front of the city's planning commission this past September.
All right, good evening. It is September 11th, 2018, and we're going to go ahead and start the planning commission meeting.
Commission meetings are formal affairs where people have to wait for their turn to speak, usually allowed a couple of minutes to address the commissioners. Defend Our Hoods did not wait.
People power is how we fight.
No domain on Riverside.
People power is how we fight.
No domain on Riverside.
People power is how we fight.
No domain on Riverside.
People power is how we fight.
No domain on Riverside.
We are here today to represent the working people of Riverside. We are here today to represent the working people of Riverside, and we demand that the application for the domain on Riverside be withdrawn. We no longer will play by the rules of the gentrifiers. We will not play by the rules of the city, since so long that they have not allowed the people who live there to have a voice. They displace us. You're out of order. They displace us, and they continue to reap the benefits by profiting off of the backs of the black and brown communities here on East Riverside.
As the disruption continued, two protesters took out toy snakes from their bags and threw them in the face of the developer's agent, Michael Whalen.
Hey, Michael Whalen, withdraw the application!
Hey, Michael Whalen, withdraw the application!
Fucking snake! Michael Whalen's a snake! Get the fuck out of here!
As of now, the rezoning application has been postponed indefinitely. No doubt, frustrated by the confrontational tactics that temporarily halted their redevelopment plans, Presidium was busy concocting another plan to further their gentrifying agenda on East Riverside. Defend Our Hoods received an internal document detailing the proposal for the Riverside Arts District to the city. In the proposal, which was leaked to us by a sympathetic local artist, the lot just west of the Quad Apartments is designated as an interim arts district, or pop-up arts district, which will act as a model for future redevelopment. On the front page of the pamphlet, the names of Presidium Group and Austin Creative Alliance are side by side. This kind of developer-artist partnership is not unique to Austin. Artwashing as a tactic happens in cities around the country, allowing developers to hide their money-making gentrification schemes behind the pleasant facade of art. You can be at an art show supporting your friend's art and not knowing who is the money behind that show that your friend is at. Maybe your friend knows, maybe your friend doesn't know. But at this point, we see what is happening to our neighborhoods. We want to uplift art and artists. We all love that in our lives, but not at the expense of our lives and of our people and of our neighborhoods. We don't need these rich people coming in trying to bullshit us into appreciating art in their gallery as they're using that money that they make off of the artists in our community to do horrible things, destroying our community.
Hi everybody, my name is Envy, and I'm a board member here at South Graphics and Art, and I was part of Artes and Raíces.
In 2016, anti-gentrification coalition Defend Boyle Heights in Los Angeles was one of the first to publicly combat art washing by disrupting an event hosted by nonprofit Self-Help Graphics and Art. Since then, the coalition has kicked out several developer-run art galleries, demonstrating that direct action and boycotts work against these gentrifiers. We spoke to Nancy, a representative of Defend Boyle Heights, about the group's experience fighting against gentrifying artists.
Hi, this is Jessica from Defend Our Hoods Austin, and we're talking today with Nancy from Defend Boyle Heights and Undeportables located in Los Angeles.
Hey everybody, Nancy here. I think, in our fight, especially around art washing here, and against art washing here in the neighborhood, is that we experience a lot of, these quote-unquote woke hood artists who, who are dabbling with gentrifiers, who are, just yesterday, this week, we were, pushing a punk swap meet that was going to happen at this high-end gallery in downtown, and we're holding folks accountable there. And what we heard from folks is like, well, I'm from the neighborhood, I'm brown, I'm Chicana, I'm Latino, like, why are you fighting against me? And I think that's really important to understand when we're fighting gentrification, because it really comes down to, like, capital, right? It really comes down to a class struggle. And what we've seen here in Boyle Heights is people definitely using identity politics to really mask, one, accountability, two, excuse their pro-capitalist behavior that goes against their community needs. And then, and I three, like an excuse for kind of like, I have a cloak of you can't hold me accountable because I look like you kind of thing. When you tell me I need to focus on the right target in my city and the gentrifier in chief is a Latino man, that is who I'm going after. I don't give a fuck.
Defend Our Hoods first called for the boycott of the Riverside Arts District back in September. In addition to Almost Real Things and the pop-up arts district on Pleasant Valley, the boycott statement specifically named Come and Take It Theater, the Tapestry Dance Company, Sun Radio, Soundwaves Art Foundation, and Wall Austin Foundation. A week after the initial boycott call, Defend Our Hoods led a large protest on the corner of Pleasant Valley and Riverside, calling for the people to fight back against gentrification.
What do we do? Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back!
The rally eventually turned into a march down the streets toward the site of the pop-up arts district. With the Almost Real Things booklets we had collected in hand, in an act of defiance, protesters sent a message to the Riverside Arts District by tossing their art washing booklets on the sidewalk and setting them on fire.
Let it be known to the developers that your Domain on Riverside project is going to crash and burn just like this pile of trash.
In the months since then, dozens of artists have signed on to the boycott. These artists have demonstrated that artists cannot be neutral in the fight against gentrification. We spoke with local artists Savannah and Christelle to hear why they chose to sign the boycott and side with the working class.
I'm Savannah. I am an artist. I was born and raised in Austin.
And I'm Christelle, and I'm a musician here in town. I honestly had no idea. I'd kind of heard like whispers about a new domain in that area, but I thought that it wasn't happening, I kind of just forgot about it. And so when I received that message, I was like, oh shit, they're actually like going through with this?
The boycott, the reason that I signed on is because it's obvious how like an art district and how art galleries have affected East Austin as a neighborhood. And, in Riverside, that's where all of my classmates lived, and that's where it is like a more affordable area that's accessible to the city. And I've seen my family one by one get displaced from East Austin, and so I just worry that that's going to happen as well in Riverside, being that it's so close to downtown and they want to build this domain thing, whatever.
Gentrification literally does hurt people. And I don't know, it. It's like you see it every day on the news. You see it, walking down the street. I've seen like cops, just like kind of corner someone who's just like walking in their neighborhood.
And I think art, no matter what, is always going to have its place in gentrification. And artists see it as revitalizing, and I'm like, what are you revitalizing? Because this was already a thriving community. I don't know what it exactly means to revitalize a place where there was already life, So even though I'll probably get criticism for that, for signing on to the boycott, I think artists should be held accountable more, and they take critique all the time about their work and things like that, but why are we not being critiqued on like our actions? And why is it that the neighborhood you're in, like, why do you think it's hip? Why do you think it's revitalized? Why do you call it up and coming? Like, what does that mean? And think deeper about like what that effect actually is on a neighborhood, and how this isn't just a playground for you.
There's definitely a great power that you have as an artist to not only mold and work on your craft, but also like mold and shape the world. More shows I play and the more conversations I have, I've been definitely seeing the potential of my impact and the impact of just any artist.
I could be like an individual saying these things, which I am, you know what I mean? But like it is so much more stronger whenever artists can group together and collectively say like, we're aware this is happening and we should be doing something about this.
Societal action isn't this far away things. Your friends are doing it. Like your friend's friend is probably doing it. I think it's like if I'm too artistic, or if I'm too like, you know, if I didn't study political science in college, like I can't really be active in these spaces, and I have that insecurity all the time, but like it's not true. If you're just a person who's alive and cares about other people, you can easily speak out.
Well, first I'd say to sign the boycott, especially if this is going to affect you. Become aware of what's happening. I think artists especially need to step up. I think that's the best way to put it, is that they need to step up. I think that, like, I think in being quiet, it's like you're kind of being too complacent about what's happening. Especially if you claim to be for the working class and you claim to care about affordability in Austin. I think that you need to step up and kind of say, like, I think this is wrong too.
In November, Defend Our Hoods hosted a town hall to inform the Riverside community about Presidium's plans to redevelop the quad, ballpark, and Town Lake apartments, as well as the history of our work up to that point. Shy Klops, a musician with hip-hop group Minds of a Different Kind, spoke up about why he supports Defend Our Hoods.
So I want to say, like, I really appreciate y'all incorporating hip-hop in this, in Austin, and geographically where we all fit in. It's opened our eyes, me personally, where I am in this, where I fall in line. I've begun to create art that specifically expresses this time in Austin, what it is like to live in this city, in Austin, being black, you know, and brown here, trying to stay here and not be pushed out. That's what my art consists of. I'm talking poetry. I got a one-man show. I'm finna jump out here pretty soon. Some spoken word. Like, I'm talking that shit that y'all talking in these meetings. So I thank you for going to these meetings. And I would go, but I feel a little bit intimidated when I'm stepping in these settings. And I'm aggressive, you understand? Because I'm passionate. This is the shit I feel. I live here. So when I'm showing a little bit of aggression, I'm all the way out of line. So this is what I've grown up to feel. This is what it's like. I want to show some aggression too, but just let me step a little bit in his face, and I will catch a case. They're gonna give me a case. Okay. Hard to say fuck that and just show up with y'all. Like, thank you for contacting me, because I don't want to give up on my city, and it's looking real fucked up for me right now that I ain't gonna be able to stay in my home. Literally, it's probably like the last place in Austin where I'm making it. this area. I'm barely above water, and I ain't feeling that. So, and as a hip hop artist, MC, I'm gonna do what the hell I have and what I'm holding on to. So, thank y'all.
Another attendee of the town hall named Steven also shared his experience living under the threat of gentrification.
Real quick, my name's Steven. This is my first meeting with Defend Boyle Heights. I've heard a lot about you guys, and my wife here, she's told me a lot about you guys and kept me in touch with everything going on. And I've lived in Texas now for about 15 years. And for the 15 years before that, I lived in New York. And I've seen the same thing happen 100 times over. It's scary. It doesn't go away. It's one of those things that even if you think it doesn't affect you or affect people around you, it does. I remember seeing the family members and just friends of mine that lived all over Manhattan, all over New York, just get pushed out of their homes and have nowhere else to go. And I've seen families split up not because they were physically split up like other issues we're seeing nowadays, but just because they couldn't afford to stay together. And so I don't want to see that happen here. I've watched, in the small amount of time I've been in Austin, I've watched so much change, and it's scary. It is horrifying to see. And this is how we do this. I wish something like this had existed. I mean, they did have organizations, but there wasn't community, there wasn't unionizing when it came to this kind of stuff. So I'm glad that you guys have this here and just spread the word on this. Like I'm gonna go home tonight and start putting flyers up at my apartment complex because I live in Wallington Apartments, right across from like the Laura down there in Crossing Place. I live right there. This is going to affect me directly, and I have never heard about any of this until very recently. And now I think about everybody else in my complex who doesn't know about this. So you have
the same meeting there.
Yeah, I don't see anybody there from here either. So I may be that one person. So now I got to go back and let everyone else know, and that's how we do it. Tell everybody, even if they're not in the affected area. You know, I know people from all over Austin who probably want to come to this and take care of this. So.
As of now, the big white art washing tent is no longer an eyesore on Pleasant Valley. The only reminder of the art washing scheme is red graffiti on the sidewalk saying, "Sell Out Arts District." Art doesn't happen in a vacuum. If you're an artist, a lover and supporter of art, there are many different ways to join the fight against gentrification rather than supporting what is going on. You can share this podcast. You can share the info you have on developers that are trying to destroy our community, such as Presidium. You can join the boycott. Please, we encourage you to sign on to the boycott. You can come out into the streets with us. As an artist, you are not immune to what is going on, and you have fan base, you have people that love you, that love your art and support you. Please don't lead them into a destruction of community. This is your community too. You're going to be on one side or the other. There is no middle ground in this. You are either with the working class or helping the developers to destroy the working class communities that thrive, that want to continue to thrive here in Austin. This has been Riverside Rising. I'm Kelly Blancas. See you next time.